Hey, I'm Stephanie, and today I'll show you how I took my hair from looking like a greasy mess within mere hours after washing to being able to go several days without a shampoo. We'll discuss the methods and the products that I've discovered that make it possible for me to only wash my hair twice a week instead of every single day. This video is part one of the oily scalp solution saga because I do believe that there are two main areas of action that have helped me deal with the extreme oiliness on my scalp, and both are equally important. The first, which we'll talk about today, is how I wash my hair, and the second, which will come next week, is what I do between washes to keep my oils at bay. As always, I use timestamps so you can easily find the information that's most relevant for you. Any products I discuss today were purchased by me with my own money. I've been using them for years because they're what work for me, so there's no sponsorship here. Before we get into the tips though, I do want to briefly mention two things. The first is that if you feel like you need to or want to wash your hair every day, I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise. Washing our hair regularly is healthy, and many people with oily hair really benefit from washing their hair every day. But people who don't want to wash their hair every day have so many different reasons why. Some people have very dry, brittle ends, and daily hair washing can really do a number on their hair. Other people have to take a lot of time to style their hair anytime they wash it, and they don't have the time or the nerve to do that every day. Yet other people might have mobility issues, so maybe washing their hair hurts. There are so many different reasons. We're not here to judge. Today, I'm just here to tell you what has worked for me so that I don't have to wash my hair every day anymore if I don't want to. And the second thing I'd like to move off of our plate before we even start is the great debate that is scalp training. I know a lot of people out there talk about how we can train our scalps to produce less oil by washing less often. And the theory behind that is that we are forcing our scalps to produce more oil because we are artificially drying out our scalps by washing too often and by using products that are too stripping. But the reality is that oil production is controlled by so many different factors, including things like hormones, medications, environment, lifestyle, genetics, just to name a few. So if your oily scalp is being caused by something like hormones or genetics, then changing your wash schedule isn't going to make a lick of difference. If you are like me, then scalp training will not work, but the following tips will. Tip 1 is to use a pre-wash, but only if you need it. This isn't something that's going to be necessary for everyone. In fact, it's not always necessary for me either. It's the sort of thing that I only use when I feel like my scalp really needs it. As someone with exceptionally fine hair, I not only use dry shampoo to control my oils, which is something we'll talk about next week, but I also use it to create a little bit of volume and lift at the roots. So on weeks where I have been just styling my hair up to wazoo, I end up with a lot of product on my scalp, and that is when I will use something like this salicylic acid exfoliating treatment from the Inkey list. About 15 minutes before my shower, I will take the bottle, shake it up really well to make sure it's all mixed together, and then I will use the nozzle to distribute it evenly across my entire scalp. Once that's done, I'll take my fingers and just gently rub it in, and then I will let it sit for 15 minutes, let it work its magic, and then I'll shower as normal. So how do you know if you need a pre-wash? I usually figure it out based on two things, either what I have been doing to my scalp or how my scalp is feeling. If I have been using a ton of products like root lift and texturizer and dry shampoo, and I just know that there's a ton of gunk up there, that's usually when I'll go in with a product like this. But also, even if I haven't been doing those things, every once in a while my scalp might get a little bit itchy or sensitive, and that's usually also a good sign that it's a good time to exfoliate. And the third reason that I do it is every once in a while I might see a flake start to appear here or there. I'm not someone who deals with a lot of dandruff, but I don't want to start dealing with that problem, and I've noticed that every time I use this, it does a pretty good job of taking care of the situation. I personally like this solution because it's an easy one and done thing that I can use whenever I need it. It's got salicylic acid in it, which is a proven exfoliant in this context, and it has worked really well for me. But I have heard about a lot of people using at-home remedies to do the same thing. For example, using apple cider vinegar washes. I have never tried that. I don't know how much you would have to dilute the vinegar in order to make it safe for your scalp, so I can't personally recommend it. But if you have experience with it or you have a recipe that works really well for you, I do hope you'll share it in the comments. For the most part, I find I use this when I've been using a lot of dry shampoo, just because it makes the whole washing process that much easier. Which brings us to washing tip number 2. The way you apply your shampoo matters. Apparently, there are great debates debates happening all over the interwebs as to whether or not we need to be emulsifying our shampoo before we apply it to our heads. In other words, taking the shampoo in our hands, really lathering it up so it's all bubbly before we put it on our scalp. Personally, I don't recommend it, but maybe that's because I always make sure to apply my shampoo to hair that is completely saturated. In other words, before I start washing my hair, I make sure that it is completely soaking, dripping wet, like I'm a mermaid freshly emerging from the sea. Or a drowning rat, depending how I feel that morning. Then, and only then, do I start applying shampoo to the entirety of my scalp. Because here's the thing, greasy, wet hair sticks to itself. So if I only apply shampoo to the crown of my head, even if I work it downward from there, it inevitably won't reach my entire scalp. And if we have greasy, oily hair, that's what we need to be washing, our scalp. We need to really be getting in between those roots. We say we're washing our hair, but really, we're washing our head. So to make sure that every millimeter of my scalp really does get clean, I won't just put the shampoo on the crown of my head. I will also make sure to part my hair in the back and to really apply it through there. I will apply it from the sides and I will apply it from underneath. But I am not concerned with getting shampoo on my mids or ends because I find if I put enough shampoo all over my scalp and really lather it up, enough of it inevitably gets onto my mids and ends to get them clean without drying them out. Hair washing tip number 3 has to do with mechanics. You really have to physically get in there to get the roots clean, which means it's time for our phalanges to get to work providing a true spa experience. After the shampoo is distributed across the entire scalp, that's when it's time to really massage it in. If I can, I try to take a minute to enjoy it. I will start from the bottom, maybe come from the front and the sides, the top, the back. Basically, the goal is to give myself a nice, thorough, three-dimensional head massage. If you are like me and sometimes deal with pain or weakness in your hands, you also have the option to pick up a head massager to do this. The advantage to this is that you can kind of slip it in between your fingers and you don't need any sort of strength to grip it, but you can still really get in between each of the hairs and give yourself a thorough head massage. Hair washing tip number 4 might seem really obvious, but hear me out. You've got to rinse well. I realize this step seems unbelievably basic, but the reason I mention it is because I thought I was rinsing all the shampoo out of my hair, but I wasn't. In the old days, I would simply rinse my hair until it felt like all of the shampoo was gone. But it turns out my fingertips aren't the best indicators as to whether or not it was really all rinsed out. Who knew? The consistency of shampoo changes when you lather it up. One day in the shower, I happened to look down after I was finished rinsing out my shampoo and just happened to notice that there were still quite a few suds going down the drain. I had just never noticed before because I'd never thought to look. I don't have a mirror in my shower. I can't see my own back. So I just never realized that there were still remnants of shampoo left in my hair. Even though I think of cleansers like soap and shampoo as inherently clean things, I still have to completely wash them out of my hair because if I don't, that residue really weighs down my extremely fine hair, making it look greasy even after it's freshly washed. And it's not grease, it's just that very fine, filmy residue of the shampoo that's left over. So now, just like I make sure to rub shampoo into every individual section of my hair, I make sure to do the same thing when I'm rinsing. I will actually part my hair in different places to make sure that the water can really get down into the roots to rinse every bit of that shampoo out. And I do feel like taking that extra minute has dramatically improved my greasiness factor between washes. Hair washing tip number 5 is to double cleanse. This is where those wash, rinse, repeat directions on the bottle begin to make sense. I realize that a lot of people think that the double cleanse is just a conspiracy thought out by the shampoo industry to make us buy more product. But I swear it has made a huge difference for my oily scalp. I too thought it was a marketing ploy to steal more of my money. But then I thought about what works for my skin in a different context, on my face. I am the type of person I like to wear things like sunscreen and makeup almost every day, which means I am purposely smearing things like colorful dirt and minerals and oils onto my face, essentially making it dirty. So dirty, in fact, that a single cleanse in the evening isn't enough to get rid of it all. That's why I have to do a double cleanse. The first one gets rid of all the goop that I put on, and the second one gets rid of any remaining oils and residue. That worked wonders for my face, and it turns out it works wonders for my hair too, because not only do I have a lot of natural sebum just because of my very oily scalp, but I also voluntarily then put things like dry shampoo and texturizer in to build volume, but also to deal with those oils. So essentially, I'm adding more dirt to an already greasy mess, which means that it takes more effort to clean it. And I find that a greasy scalp can really benefit from a double cleanse. So now, whenever I wash my hair, I shampoo it twice. You know, those washing methods we just discussed? I do that 2 times back to back. You do not need 2 different shampoos to do this. You can just use the shampoo you already have. That's how I started, and it worked splendidly. But as I've tried different products over time and adjusted to the hard water situation that I currently live in, I found ways to really optimize my routine. So I do now use 2 different shampoos for my double cleanse, but that's because my favorite clarifying shampoo, the Redken Hair Cleansing Cream, that one is my favorite clarifying shampoo that I've tried to date because I feel like it really effectively breaks up all the oils and dry shampoo on my scalp without stripping my hair. But it is a little bit strong for my ends if I use it for a double cleanse. So I find that I personally get the best results when I use that clarifying shampoo to do all the heavy lifting of my first cleanse and then switch to a normal volumizing shampoo for my second cleanse. I've tried a bunch of really great volumizing shampoos that I think work best, each in a different context. But instead of going into a lot of detail about them today, what I'll do is I'll link my shampoo guide in the show notes because there you can read a brief overview of why I like each one. But if you'd like me to make a dedicated video about this, feel free to let me know by leaving a flower emoji in the comments. Tip number 6 is to apply conditioner strategically. And for some of us, it will mean not applying conditioner at all. After my double cleanse, my hair seems to really benefit from conditioner, but I only ever apply it to the ends and the mids of my hair. I never apply it to the roots. Because if I start applying conditioner too close to my roots, all the effort I went to for that double cleanse goes to waste because conditioner too close to my roots will always inevitably cause me greasy hair, no matter how well I rinse it out. Because I live in an area with such extremely hard water and I can't install a filter for technical reasons, I find that I need both a mask and a conditioner. So what I'll do is after my double cleanse, I will apply my hair mask, let that sit for a couple of minutes as I go about some other shower tasks. Then I will rinse that out. Then I will apply a conditioner, go about the rest of my shower tasks, and then completely rinse that out. But if I travel to an area with softer water, I often find that I can skip conditioner entirely. So this tip is going to depend a lot on your environment and your hair type. The key takeaway is that if you do apply conditioners or hair masks, don't apply them to the roots. I'll link some of the conditioners that I like for my fine hair in the show notes in case you'd like to take a look. Those are affiliate links, which means I earn a small commission when people shop through them. It's a great way to say thank you if you thought this video was helpful and you were going to be buying something anyway, but taking a moment to say hello in the comments is just as sweet. Do you happen to have any other hair washing tips or tricks I didn't talk about today that you could share with us? If so, please do, because the more we know, the better. Which is also why part 2 is coming next week, where we'll discuss what I do in between washes to keep my hair cleaner for longer. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see that. If you'd like to watch some more beauty content in the meantime, I've got another video for you right here. I hope you have a great week and that we can all remember that even stumbling can be a form of moving forward. So let's stumble in style.